Hey, what's up YouTube? Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to go from this to this. So stay tuned. Hey guys, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's involved in this build. I wanted to show you how it's going to turn out, and I'm actually going to do two parts on this build, so I'm not quite done with it yet. This first video is actually going to cover more of the kind of the big changes that you're going to make, and then the second video will cover some of the tedious things like lining things up, the ways that I figure out to line things up. I still have to do things like wiring up my lights. But wanted to go ahead and publish part number one, so you guys can kind of get an idea, maybe even get excited for the second video. So this is not that common of a build, so I just thought it would be kind of something fun to do. Collected the parts over Christmas break, and I just started the build with this quarantine that we're on. And so essentially what you're going to need for this build are so I have a 2007 Toyota 4runner, and what you're going to need for this build is 2015 Tacoma parts. So I went on to McNeil Racing and picked out some fiberglass fenders for a 2015 Tacoma. I found a 2015 Tacoma Sport hood right here in Augusta for a couple $100. I got this grill online, I picked one off of Amazon for Christmas, and then I found these headlights from a guy down the road. So those are all the parts that you're going to need, but let me show you a little bit more about how I get this to fit together. Alright, here's the pieces just kind of setting on here. I haven't quite got them lined up yet, but you can kind of see how it's going to look. And then glass fenders over here. So I'm going to have to do a lot of trimming on that to make them fit. I have to cut a lot of the bottom out to make room for this thing. And then put a little L bracket down here to make sure it'll fit down there. I don't think it's gonna fit exact, but I wanna take a Dremel to it and only cut off what I need to cut off, so. This is gonna have to come back some, probably back about 2 inches. That means where this is hitting this, I'll need to cut this back, maybe to about there, so that all this junk here can just whoosh, slide back. Line up with this edge. This actually looks really good because it's actually covering up my winch. So that's pretty cool. I got the Raptor lights. So pretty exciting build. Just doing something fun, switch it up, so. All right, I'm in the process of taking the fender off. So this side's still got to come off, but the other side is actually, see my junk in the garage. The other side is actually on, so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. Of course, it's all white because it's got to be painted, but I'm just going to show you here real quick. I've had several people ask me where to unbolt the fenders, and so I thought I'd show you here. All right. So here are the spots where the bolts are for the fenders. So you got one in here, this little L bracket here. On the other side of this, you can get it to it from underneath of the fender. That will just pull apart there. So that makes that move. I had one here that I removed, but then I think there may have been one here a long time ago. I lost the bolt on that. One there. And then if you pop open behind here, there's one there. I already pulled it out. And then the last one is actually, let's see, right behind here. You have to kind of pull out and break a couple of the edges of the fender. Let's see. You see it right there. That's it right there. Let me see if this is a little easier to see. You can see it up in there maybe. Oh, that's not even pointing in the right direction. All right, there we go. Yep. Anyway, it's right behind there, going that way. So you just got to reach up under there with a wrench. That's the last thing I got to take off. And then the other things you got to do is pull out the fender liner. All this junk needs to come out because it's connected to the fender, and you just pull it out with all these screws here. I've already trimmed a bunch off the front, so I don't have a lot up front. Cool. All right. The new fender's lining up pretty good. I've got to do a little bit more trimming, a little bit more fitment, but it's looking pretty cool. All right, so I've got the 4Runner backed into the garage now. First, let me kind of walk you through the high-level changes that you're going to be making to your 4Runner to get this to work. You can see the rest of the 4Runner is back there in the back. So really, it's just the front clip that looks like it's from a 2015 Tacoma. I have Pelfrey built front bumper, so I had to do a lot of trimming in this area right here at the bottom of the fender. And that's what gave me the room, and it kind of lines up pretty good. If you take a look over here, it actually lines up pretty close to the edge of the bumper. I would actually like for it to be a little bit wider, but that's cool. Not everyone has that bumper, so that's not necessarily something everyone is going to have to deal with. For the most part, these just bolt right on here. Right now I've got a couple of hex bolts and nuts holding it in there. One of the things I'm going to be doing in the second video is actually going in and putting some sort of shim in here to keep it up higher and even with the hood. Also, the hood itself, right now I've got one bolt holding it in, and it does not latch. It doesn't quite reach down far enough to get into this latch right here. So what I was actually thinking about doing is maybe pulling this out, and maybe making a longer U-bolt or something work. Not 100% sure on that. I could do some pins here in the corner, which I've seen from some other guys. But essentially, like, what's the hardest part of this build? The hardest part is when you have to go and cut holes for these fenders. So let me get a good angle for you here. The side of the engine bay wall, I had to cut it and bend it back to make room for all of the junk that's underneath of there. And so that's the most tedious part of this job. Outside of that, really, it's just kind of lining up the hood with everything. So on the Tacomas, this grill just kind of floats for the most part. I think there's a couple of brackets that hold it. So I'm going to look for a way to connect it from here into here in the second video. Right now, it's just bolted to the headlights, and that kind of keeps it nice and centered, like right here. And then I had to drill new holes for the headlights, and those holes are just a little bit off from where the other ones were at. There's not a hole here yet, so I'll have to drill that one out. But just wanted to kind of give you a high level of what's involved in doing this.